up and everything else, see. So they didn't have any. I got a letter from the association wanted me to come up here. So when I was up here, to go check and see if I could locate where it should have been, see.
Oh, good idea, yeah.
And so, but it's a shame. Oh, I see that when they're Rochester, a short time ago.
Yeah.
Same thing. You wonder what they're thinking of, you know.
They caught those three. There were 3 or 4 of them. They did like 128 tombstones. And again, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it sure is.
But well, my mother, Memorial Day, we went over to Scottsburg Cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
And we went through the whole thing, and my mother was pointing out who all the different people were and her old teachers.
Your mother was family was buried in Scottsburg?
Yeah. Yeah, Harold Ryder and Rosamond Ryder, they're all up there. Bob and Evelyn are going to be there. My great-grandparents are there, the Pierces.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where we, because he had 2 wives with the same name.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so I mean, we were looking at these old, we were getting confused. Well, when was he married, you know? Who was
Now, was this the Pierce family from the Roy area?
No, from, I really don't know where they were before Groveland. He was from Scotland.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, from Scotland. And we only have, you know, very, very little information. We know who his mother and father were, and we have a picture of his brother.
Oh, yes.
But that was really about it.
Now, how much? What do you have on the Douglas family? Now,
let me show you how I do things here. And
get my glasses here. Okay. Glasses.
Okay, that's your copy there, all right? Now, are you also interested in, this is a list of history for different towns and stuff. You know, here's Canadice, Canisius.
Oh, yes.
Canisius Lake, Genesee Country, Genesee Valley Canal, Hemlock Lake. The reason I do that is because as you find out where your family used to live, it's good to be able to get a copy of that town history.
Now, like with my grandmother, Douglas, she was born in, where was that? Helensville, Ohio? Heard it the other night there. We have a record down home to it. But anyways, it was near, right near Cleveland somewhere, in that area, you see. We have I have the history on that. I've got written some of the stuff. This year I wanted to do more of it, but Helen's been quite sick, you know, and I was fighting this cancer, so I've been more or less laying off all that stuff, you see. So we didn't bother to bring it up.
Well, this will go in good with what you've got. Let me slide over here. And this is how we did it. Everybody's listed by their birth name.
Oh, I see.
All right? Because the birth name is the only name that never changes.
Right.
You know, no matter how many times you get married or divorced or whatever, your birth name stays the same. Then we go down through here, and it's pretty standard. You know, like here's my stepfather. He was born, when they died, who his father was, who his mother was, who he married, their children from that union, that they got remarried, and then that way you can add information as, and then we try and get a little synopsis here. He was raised in Spencerport, Monroe County, New York. I found out over the years, very important to list counties, because things change.
Oh, yeah.
See, Ontario County used to be everything west of Geneva.
Oh, yes.
And when you're looking for towns, a lot of towns change their names. And so if you know a county, it just helps define it more. Again, anything that comes to mind. You know, John is of German extraction. He was one of 11 brothers and sisters, World War II, U.S. Navy vet, saw action in Europe, resided for many years with family in Spencerport, New York. He was an engineer and supervisor at Kodak, Rochester, New York, currently living with second wife and Henrietta. Right, that one little paragraph there gives you an awful lot of information about the person. Rather than, you know, most stuff is, you know, where they were born, where they died, and nothing in between. We're trying to get the occupations down there. We're trying to, of course, you know, like, you know, go right up to mine. You know, the more we know, the easier like here was my father, you know, born August 19th, 1925 in McLean House over in Groveland. That's where him and Mary were both born.
Oh, yes.
Now, the house is gone, but...
see, I was trying to locate that. That was down on, as you started out of Mount Morris toward going across the flats, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember where it was.
Oh.
I'm old enough to remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, where he died, where he was buried, his father, his mother. He got married, Miriam Jane Ryder, again, using the birth name, who was born in 1928. That's another thing. Name and date when they were born. Boy, that's what you need to identify these people.
Right.
Because so many names are the same.
Sure.
Here were their children. You know, and again, here's our names, our full names, wherever possible. What makes this format nice is you only put down as much information as you got.
Sure.
As more information becomes available, you put it in. He married Florine Mitchell, who was born in 1937. She, SC for stepchildren, Jamie, Danny, Susie. Grew up in Tuscarora, Livingston County, New York. Enlisted Marine Corps, World War II. Saw combat in the Pacific at Tarawa, Iwo Jima, Okinawa. He was at Yotan Airfield with his cousin Earl Goodwin, April 1945. I have a letter.
Okay, now
they met each other.
Now, before you, when you get into now, Frank had a boy. Where is he at? You listed in there? You
mean Frank Morgan?
Yes. I've wondered about that. Junior and I was going to ask you.
No, see, this is all I got on Frank. You know, he was married to Bess. I don't even know her maiden name. I don't have anything else. I got to fill in Howard. I did come across an old. Did you know Howard was a blacksmith?
Yeah, yeah.
No, never knew that.
Yeah, way back here about last fall, a fellow that's head of the cemeteries and pavilion.
Yes.
And he came to me, was at a bingo one night, or the pavilion was the fire hall, and he says, Forrest, he says, you know about the mortgage and know a lot of the most of the people in the area. He says, what was the mortgage name that ran the gas station up on 63? And I couldn't think for a second. So Helen turned out and said to Helen, she says, Howard.
Yeah.
So there, he said, well, here he says, here we are living here. He says, she's town clerk, and I all this here. We still didn't know who the hell it was. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I ran across the old death notice for Howard.
Oh yeah.
Yep. But like I said, you know, like me, same thing. You know, where I was born. You know. Oh yeah. We also one of the other things we're doing now, we're trying to list every place that they lived.
Oh yes.
Well, like here, General Dynamics, Strummer Carlson, 100 Carlson Road, produced television, radio, phonograph, sound, and intercommunication system, blah blah blah. So now it gives you an idea where this guy was born.
Did you have some list? I see there's some out here about New York about the Kate Dieter Ed1 and so forth. Did you have Douglas families out in Ohio, out in Indiana?
No, no. All right, let's go straight to the Douglases then. All right, now here's Alice Mary Daly. She married William Philip Douglas.
Yeah, there's my grandfather.
Right. He's your grandfather.
Right.
Right. And Alice, she was born in Elmira, and she's born in Cancerega. We look for her tombstone.
Now wait a minute. She buried in Cancerega. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, the cemetery in Cancerega is up on that hill.
Right.
And we were up there, and we looked all over, couldn't find it.
I'll tell you exactly where it's at.
All right.
You know, there's a little, right about the mid of the cemetery, or a little more than mid of the cemetery, as you're looking at the face, there's a regular wall thing, wall thing.
Yeah.
It's right straight in front of it. And same way with his. Now I went through the procedure finding out about the grandfather, my grandfather, because we couldn't. Nobody seemed to be able to have any knowledge of where he was buried. Okay? And so in fact, I went to Candice to check it out. I went where all I forget now. They went to county, the state, and everything else. Well, how did I finally? Oh, I know. Earl wanted a tombstone put on Grandma's grave. So he said, well, I don't know if they ever did or not, because that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we haven't been up there. But, so I tried through all the different channels so you could find out in the county and the town and so on and so forth. Place for the burial and everything else. Well, the Dansville, the monument place, and I was telling the girl in there about it, and she says, well, your grandmother, you know where your grandmother was buried from? I said, yeah, from Livonia. cemetery, funeral homes in Livonia. That's where they was buried out. So she said, well, I'll find out.
Jeez.
About a week later, she called me up and told me all details. He was number 1 and number 2 in the grave, but there's nothing, no marker. So she buried right. He was buried over she was. I thought it would be logical, but the cemetery association, the group at the cemetery, they didn't know.
Right.
So that's where he was buried right beside her.
I'll be darned.
That's William Douglas. See.
Well, that's good. Yeah, we'll be able to find that. Yeah. Like I said, this year we took geraniums up to both Ernestine and Cy and put it on their graves. Then we went over to my great grandparents.
Yeah.
William Morgan, and put it on his graves.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's what we're trying to do: get a collection of where everybody is ending up. But what I'd like you to do, while you're down south when you get time. Now here's here's Andrew Daly, who's your grandmother's father. That's your great grandfather.
Right.
We know he was born in 1827 in Elmira, so I mean he really came up here early.
Yeah.
Here's his children.
This family here, I'll find that out for you too. This family here moved from Ohio. Originally, they were from Ohio. So I'll get to the name of it.
Okay, great. Well, that's just like Morgan's, going out to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That's where Mary Beckwith, my great grandmother, is from.
Oh, is that right?
Or Clara Beckwith.
Oh,
yeah. And Grandma Clara.
That's on your
dad's side.
Dad's side.
Yeah. I mean, they went from Pavilion
out there.
Oh, yeah. And then came back.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Now, who's Clara Ernestine Dieter?
Clara, that's my sister.
Oh, your sister. Okay.
That's my youngest sister.
All right.
Then you got Catherine there too. I see. Somewhere, I see.
Well, what I've got here. Then your mother was Flora Electra Douglas Dieter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Catherine.
And she married who?
Grant Dieter.
Grant?
Yeah.
No, Clara married.
Oh, Clara married, I'm sorry.
That's right.
She married her original name was Demond.
Okay.
She's been married a couple of times, that's all.
All right, what was the, how do you spell it?
D-E-M-U-N-D?
Okay.
M-U-N.
Yeah.
M-U-N, okay. And you're this would be what, your father, right?
Yeah, Grant. Yeah.
Grant Dieter.
Yeah, Grant Sherman. Grant Sherman Dieter.
Yeah, because I don't have him.
Yeah. I went through a section here a couple weeks ago, the moose reunion they had for down to Leicester here, and see the mooses, horses, Dieters, Carneys, and all that area, all related. So one of the moose ones got a hold of me, wanted me to come to the reunion and bring the Dieter book with me. Well, I didn't have mine here, but I went down and got Rogers and took it up. They got a large book made. So,
okay. And we go right on to you. Same thing. You were born August 27th. Hey.
1916. Pretty close.
Well, yeah, I'm the 29th.
Yeah.
My father was the 19th.
My Kate's the 29th.
Steve Edick is...
my sister Kate's is 29th.
Yeah, I think Steve Edick's about the 16th.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine's the 27th. Sunday. Yeah.
All right.
1916.
Now, Helen's maiden name is what?
Ferris. F-E-R-R-E-S. Pardon?
F-E-R-R-I-S.
Okay. Helen, what's your middle name, please? Oh, very pretty.
What does she tell you? She don't like it. She don't like it.
Well, I think Elaine's a very nice name. When were you married?
May 15th,
1942.
Wow.
We had our 50th anniversary that year.
Okay. Now, I'm not going to write any more. What I'd like you to do is when you're down in Florida, if you could, enlarge on some of this stuff and write some little, where you lived, what you did, the organizations you might have belonged to, what churches. Of
course.
Right, because what we're looking at...
My service records and so on and so forth.
Right. We're trying to give because eventually what I'm going to do with this will go into a book, and we're getting real close because I've been in the computers for several years, and the technology is now there where we can do it. Where we're going to have a family book where everyone will have a picture, and then this little biography right down below.
That's on the Morgan family.
Yeah, well, you people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the Dieter book is.
Right.
Takes in all the Moose's, Schwartz's, Carneys, and all them. See?
Yeah. And what we're trying to do is give everybody, I tell everybody, write it is so somebody's going to read it 100 years from now,
Okay.
and you want them to get a feel for what type of a person you were, and what your life was like.
Sure. Well, you don't think of those things, Doug, till you get along about 35, 40 years old.
Right. You got to get middle age almost before it even.
Just like, for example, with the Dieter book, now as I say, they've got all of these things in. Now we're up against a problem now because this reunion, there's one published and put it in the library in Dansville, but it's only just a partial. Okay. So I've got the one.
Is it under the Dieter name in Dansville?
Yes, but the only when the books first came out, they were $1,000 a piece for a book. See, so Helen got me one for my Christmas present.
Wow.
And so the following year, we visited people that wrote the book up in Flint, Michigan. See, and we got. Well, I knew Esther. I knew the woman that did it.
Yeah.
Her name was Dieter, and but really just cousins and so on and so forth. But anyway, following that, she died, and so her husband had a whole group of books. I don't know how many books he got. He sold 1,500, because it was.
Oh.
And so they sold 1,500 books to start with. So Helen wrote a letter to him and asked him, said to her husband, and asked if they had more of them, and if what there would be. So her idea was we'd wanted to have one for each one of our kids.
Right.
So we bought 5 books.
Wow.
See, and the 4 children, we get one to each one of the kids. Well, I had one other one. I said, I'll take it to Geneseo. That's the location, the center of all this way, the county, and we'll be for Louisiana County. So I took it over there. They wanted $20 a month for you to keep it there. I said,
really?
Forget it.
No, usually, I mean, they've always done that. Donate. We go down to the Rochester Public Library. I mean, there's a lot of family histories down there. In fact, the writers are down there. Yeah. I found out information about my great-grandfather. But usually that's the way it does. The families just donate it to the library.
I don't understand why they want it so much. But so I said, heck, I'm not going to pay that much money to have it put in there and kept there. See,
right.
I mean, if it's $20 a year or something like that, it'd been different. You might have thought, well, it'd be worth it to have the books there. See, but so I give the other book, Bill Dieter, Bob Dieter's son, lives in Florida, and he wanted to borrow. He'd have the book back and forth to our place. And I said, tell him, I don't know why we don't give it to Bill. He's interested in it, so we gave it to him. See,
good.
The 5th book that we got, and but the book that we got now is about that thick, about that long, about that wide. See, it's a big, real size. Video like the old German Bible book that my father had, but we lost track of that one.
Well, that was another thing I never found out till we started doing all this. We are German on my mother's side.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was R-I-D-J or R-I-J-D-E-R was the original spelling. They were Pennsylvania Dutch, they were German. They changed their name to the English spelling as soon as they got here.
Well, now, in the book she stated, how many ways?
37 different ways of spelling Dieter.
Yeah.
Because when they first came over, they didn't write plain.
Yeah.
And they took it, just did it the way they thought.
Yeah. But it's interesting to go through it. Now, Earl's family out there, of course, that's a little different situation out there with that. I've tried, Nancy has promised, you met her at the reunion,
yeah,
or anniversary. Nancy promised me a dozen times she was going to get the whole history of all their family all the way down through and then send it to me, but I never did get it. We're going out there this fall again.
Okay.
So I hope to get it that time. I'll make her start ready to write it out then.
Oh, yeah. See, that's a good way.
Now, Della gave me all of hers, Della Wise, see. And I have that, and I had all of, well, your father sent the whole thing for that he had. All the family.
Yes, because he sent us up those questionnaires.
Yeah, and then see who else? Another one of the family. Oh, I mean like the Parsons family,
right?
For example, I've got all of that. See, and of course, which is quite a little ways down the line. A lot of generations not even mentioned at all in any relation book or anything else. See, and of course, Les didn't get to Mary's thing here because he was on his way. He got in a bad accident, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't make it up here. But but then, as I said, you know, that's the only ones, I guess. Now, Earl's family, of course, that's a little different story now. Of course, I don't know if you knew this or not. Probably did. I'm sure your mother's father knew it. And all. Earl was supposed to have been the brother to my mother, see.
Mm-hmm.
But he was not. He was a half brother to me. He was my mother's son.
Oh, okay.
Find out years later. But it never has been that way, and I don't want to go in the book that way either.
Yeah.
See, because for some reason they've kept it all these years, and I never knew it until about 2 years before Earl passed away. It was Della Wise told me about it, and I said, "Well, it don't seem so possible." I said, "I've seen some of my father or somebody would have said something." Well, then I find out later after that my sister knew it, my oldest sister knew it, but I didn't know it. See? So we went out to the Betty. You ever met Earl's kids much or not? Did you? Betty was the youngest. So.
Yeah.
Well, she married a fellow from Elkhart, Indiana. They're quite well-to-do people. There's no doubt about that. But always been so friendly. Every time we went to Indiana, we had to go there and see them and we'd go out to supper. You know, one night we went out to supper. We sat there and Betty looked over and said, "Forrest, I want to ask you a question, Forrest." She says, "Why do I call you Uncle Forrest? And you call Dad Uncle Forrest?" Or Uncle Earl.
Yeah, right.
Uncle Earl. And I said, "Well, I might as well tell you, I just learned it." And she said, "Well, that's what I've been wondering for a long time. Why was I told to call you Uncle Forrest, and you call Dad Uncle Earl?"
Mm-hmm.
See, but the point is, I say that's an idea of the thing there. So following that, she must have went back to Earl and told him or something, because the following year we were out. The first thing Helen said to me, he says, "Hi, brother." I never had before, seen all the years. Yeah. But now it's no criticism. It's just one of those things that, you know. And so, as I told Helen one time, I said, I didn't notice it when he first called and said it, but then he said it following at different times. But Helen noticed it right off the bat. See, but we went to his funeral. He died. How long ago did Earl die? 3 years? 3 years.
2 or 3.
Yeah, 3 years. Well, Earl and I always spent a lot of time together. Even I stayed with him a lot when I was coming up, and worked with him where he did, and like that. But he was there one man. I don't know how he ever made it through life. I tell you, but at the end of his life, he had more accidents and more things happened to him than anybody in the world. He had one time that been covered up. I'll have that in the history of the thing too. He had covered up a blacktop 6 foot deep for 4 hours before they got him out.
Holy!
And he lived.
Oh my God!
The only reason he lived, it was some muddy like down the bottom where this caved in. And when he went down sort of away from his back toward the face, nothing that could breathe in that.
My goodness.
Yeah, but he was just black as coal all the way through his body after they got him out.
Sure.
And how long was he in the hospital? We got him in the hospital 6, 8, 10 weeks. Well, must have been close to 6 months, I guess, for that. Then he got gored by a bull, and he was in the hospital then for about 3 months.
Yeah.
And the last one he had, he took care of some properties from people out of California. But anyway, the police called him, told him there was somebody broke in up there, and they wanted him to come, so they come up there. So he went up to the place. Instead of there taking a flashlight and walking through the hall ahead of him, two deputy sheriffs and trooper, they wanted him to go in and see if he could turn lights on with no light. See? Well, in the meantime, they'd been putting in a swimming pool. He didn't know it. See? And they didn't have a railing up. You fell off in that pool. No water in it.
Holy mackerel.
See, the printer killed him. But it seemed like he lived a life of having a lot of accidents, but he still lived through them.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Now we want to go out and carry. Whole carry B should be 80 or not 80, 89. I think. No, 91. Should be 91.
Yeah, I was 11 years old.
Yeah, 91 should be.
Wow.
So we kind of want to go out and see her.
Sure.
Before we the whole kid.
And where's she at?
They live in Valparaiso, Indiana. That's where Bill lives, and Carl lives in Valpo. Betty lives in Elkhart, and Alice lives in Valpo. So Bill just.
But you never lived in Indiana, did you?
No.
Okay.
No. She, Bill, you know, he was the one that was out here at the union.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, he told his family about it. He just sold his property again up there. And he owned 2 big companies up in Michigan, see. And he just sold the last one for $5 million. The one built it. He rented it for 7 years after he closed out himself. He rented this company. Then he had this cabinet business. They made him sealed cabinets and stuff and furniture for offices and so on, something for the government, see. So he had, well, I don't know exactly what he was worth. He probably, Carl said one time, his brother told me probably $2 or $3 billion about what he's worth. That's all he said. But he's just as common as that can be. Like he told me up the Mary's the other day, he said, Forrest, you know, I told you before, he says, I can buy anything I want to buy, but I can't buy my health. I ain't got it.
Right.
And that's worth something to you. He always worked hard, and of course a lot of his courses. I think a lot of his injuries caused a lot of his problems. He was a race car driver, too, along with it.
That's right. Yeah.
And he got himself boogered up a number of times. That can do it.
Yep.
And of course, I think.
Well, I'll tell you what, it meant an awful lot to Mary and Lou and all you came over to the 50th anniversary.
Oh, yeah. The thing was, they didn't know who they were.
Yeah, they were just flabbergasted. and the videotape, in fact, I will send you a copy of the videotape.
Oh, yeah?
All right?
Good.
It came out just fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they were. I was really shocked to see them because Bill and Ben, we keep in touch a lot. And as far as we knew, he wasn't able to really travel. Well, I guess he wasn't. Nancy said that when he, Vert told me, he said when he decided to come, she said, I want to go regardless of my health. And so they decided to come on a spur of a moment, see. And, but when we had ours, they didn't dare come out. Of course, he was in the hospital at that time anyway. But so funny how these things can happen. I went up there one time, it's probably 7, 8 years ago. I stopped Elkhart, Betty's, and I saw to see them a few minutes on the way over to Earl's. See. So I said, how's Bill doing? I knew he'd been sick. She said, well, he's not good at all. She says he can't get out or nothing. He hasn't been out of bed hardly at all, probably a while. So I said, well, I'll call him. She said, I'll call him. And she said, yeah, you better call him, and you better not go up. So she said, but we wanted to go up. We said, we don't want to call him. He's too sick. So I called him up. He said, oh, God, yes, you got to come up for us. So I went up. And we got there about noon, or a little after noon. We stopped and had lunch and got there. About 3, he come out. Bird says, I don't know, you get up or not. She says, he hasn't been good at all. So she told him he was there and said, well, you go in there and talk to him. And he, nope, got right up pretty robot and sat down. And he talked, do you want to know about everything out here in New York, about your family and everything you could think of, I guess. And finally he says, I said, well, you get pretty tired, Bill. I said, we better be leaving anyway. I said, we got to get down to Earl's before dark. And so he says, nope. He says, you're not going. We're going out to supper. Bert says, what did you say? He said, we're going to supper. Well, he said, Bill, you haven't been out of the house in a month. He says, I don't care. We're going to supper. Okay. So we got ready. She did. She got the car out. She drove. Went out. He made the call. And we went into this big restaurant. I tell you, it was a restaurant. But then at the door, they took him in the private room. Was about a 20-foot square. There was a table, and that's the only ones in there, just with us. And but yeah, they waited on him like he was the king of England coming. He had 3 waitresses there all the time. But when he got through, he left $100 bill tip for him. But so money don't mean anything to him. He don't show it off, and he does things like that. Like he told me one time, he said, "You ever had any problems? Let me know." And he said, but as I say, he's worked hard. He got a good business. He got a nice family. He's got a bunch of kids. One of them lives in Wisconsin, and the other one lives in near Kalamazoo. And So that's I said there's the two boys what they had, and that's all in that other history. You probably don't have that, do you?
No.
I'll get see if you get that then.
Great.
And let's say a lot of those things and where they're at. See? And my daughter just came back from up there, and they were right close to where these boys lived, but we didn't know at the time. See, so they went up there for a wedding for their husband's side of the family.
Great.
Now, do you have my daughter's?
Nope.
You don't have that on.
No.
I'll fill that in.
Okay, right. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
All that stuff I'll fill in.
Yeah, let me just go over. This is what we found up at Canadice. Right? We're up here. We're looking at Mary Doolittle, right? Your grandmother.
Yeah, right.
Okay. She died in 1884, and she married the Daly.
Uh-huh.
All right. Now, this is what we found up at Canadice Methodist Church.
Yeah, right.
There were a lot of Doolittles up there. There was a Frank Doolittle,
Yeah.
an Emma Harrison, Alva Doolittle, Zara. There was a Thomas Doolittle, Esther Doolittle, Henry, Mary Jane, and William S. Now, we think William S. is the actual Doolittle.
Yeah.
Yeah, now this is the history of Ontario County.
Oh, yes. Oh, I see.
Okay. William S. was quite prosperous. He had a nice farm.
Yeah.
And I didn't find anything on him. I did find Frank.
Well, he had a farm at Canadice Corners at one time.
William S.?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was trying to think what his wife's maiden name was, because she taught school in Honeoye.
Mm-hmm.
We went there to a reunion a couple different times to do it. The Douglas reunion they had Doolittle. Douglas, Doolittle, and Daly reunion.
Yeah, well, here's his son, all right? Frank Doolittle of Canadice was born in 1851. He was educated in the Common and Honeoye Select Schools. His father, William S., was a native of Vermont and came with his parents at the age of 9 to Canadice. The latter was a son of Thomas Doolittle, who married Cleora. So now you've got this Frank Doolittle. His father was William S. Doolittle, whose father was Thomas Doolittle. Let's see, Frank Doolittle married. This is about Frank now. Because what I was looking at now, here's let me look at.
There's another Doolittle lives here down to York. See, he was a son of the one that lived at Canadice Corners. Trying to think what his name was now. We've been there. My folks have been there to visit him. I remember years ago.
Now there's some Douglases in here, but I don't know if they're from our family. Here's a Samuel Douglas.
Well, now how about Dick Douglas?
William Douglas. Okay.
Dick. Richard.
Yeah, right. Here's what I've got. I've got Carl Andrew Douglas, born in Avon.
Oh.
All right, Ernest Robert Douglas, born in Canadice.
Yeah.
Well, that's my grandmother.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Ernestine. Flora.
Yeah.
All right, and then Harry Andrew Douglas.
All right, now Harry Andrew Douglas. Let me see where that comes in.
He was a son of Alice and William.
Well, now wait a minute. Ernest was her youngest brother.
Well,
Do you
here's
have Ernest?
yes.
Okay.
That was your mother's youngest brother.
Right.
Okay, right. My grandmother's
Right.
nephew then.
Right.
Okay,
All
right.
right. Now Dick Douglas. See, that was Grandpa Douglas's brother.
See, I don't have that.
Well, I've got that.
Okay.
On mine, so I'll get that.
All right. Richard Douglas.
And he has a son in East Aurora, and I got that down with his first name, but I can't tell you now. He had the whole.
That was your mother's what? Youngest brother?
No, that would be my. Yeah. No wait. Dick was Grandpa's brother.
Okay.
And his son lives in East Aurora, and I can't tell you what his name is, but I'll
Okay.
find it out. It's on the thing there.
Okay, good. So that would be William Philip Douglas's brother.
His daughter was a professional ice skater. You might have seen her in the past, I don't know. So, he worked at, over to, all the flower gardens out there out of Rochester. They closed them down now. Newark.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was there for years, it was. Yeah.
Okay. Now we have Hazel.
Yeah. Hazel
Right.
Parsons. No, see.
Right. Yes. What was his first name? See, I don't have that.
I mean, Hazel's husband?
Yeah.
Gordon.
Gordon Parsons. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why this system works out pretty good. You know, whatever
Yeah.
you don't know, leave it blank.
Sure.
And someday you'll run across somebody who knows it, and you can fill it in.
Right.
And where do they live now?
Of course, Hazel's passed away.
Yeah.
And Les lives in Lakeland.
Lakeland,
Yeah.
Florida.
Right.
Do you know when? Remember when Hazel passed away?
Offhand, I dare say
Okay.
they to it.
No problem.
I'll
All
put-
right. Then we got Aunt Ivy.
Yeah. Well, she had two daughters. See.
Two daughters. Okay.
Yeah. And I'll put that down
Right.
right there.
Yeah. I'll just jot this in for now. See, everything's on the
Sure.
computer.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, that's what makes it so nice today.
Yeah.
And I've got, you know, this I printed at home on my printer, and you know, you can rip this stuff out in just a few
Sure.
minutes. And Ivy,
Yeah.
and she married. What was his first name?
Carl.
Carl Gilbert.
Yeah.
Carl.
That's spelled with a K or a C.
We got it down there also.
Okay.
I'll put it-
Now here, see, now there's Della.
Yeah. Double Wives.
Right. Thank you. I'll put that
Now,
in
you
there.
got Corky down there? Carlton?
Carlton. Right, Corky. Okay.
I don't know why they always call him as Carlton, but they call him Corky. I don't know. They've always called him Corky.
Now this is the original here. This is Philip Douglas.
Philip Douglas.
Right, that's the first one that we know about.
Uh-huh.
All right. He was about 1830. I have no idea, you know, anything else about him. You might have that down.
Well, maybe some of that. See, it's in the Dieter book. See,
Yeah, right.
so we could get a lot of that from that. See,
Okay,
because
good.
she traveled 3,500 miles just to get the information. Just imagine. Yeah.
But here's William Phillip. This would be your grandfather.
Yeah. Right.
Right. He was born in Walcott. He's in Cancerega.
Yeah.
Father, mother. You don't remember? What was your grandmother?
What was her name?
Yeah.
Alice. What was her middle name, Al? You know?
Well, that's who he married. I'm talking about your great grandmother now. I'm sorry.
Oh, my great grandmother.
His mother. Philip Douglas.
No, it's a funny name. I know we got it, so I'll find
Okay,
it.
no problem.
I'll find it.
Yeah, and you'll see through here, like here I have Douglas's paternal great-grandfather. Again, this is so that anybody's reading it, you know, they're going to know
Yeah.
I wrote it. And if they want to draw a family tree, who are all these people in relationship to me? These are just the direct ancestors.
Uh-huh.
You know, mother, father, both grandparents.
Branches.
They're, right, the first branches.
Yeah.
Then you see we got everybody else here. Here's Debbie Edick, Gloria Edick, Lou, Madeline, all the Fagans.
Now, which one of your sisters has now moved back from up there?
That was Susie.
Susie.
Yeah, the youngest one.
She's Dansville now.
Right, she's in Dansville
I
now.
talked to Carol.
Just moved over there.
Talked to Carolyn on the phone.
Here's all the Gilberts.
Okay, that's
Again, see, I list everybody by
oh, yeah.
birth name.
No,
So
no,
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
the Halls.
Now the Halls is on your father's side.
The Halls is Gloria. Gloria Edick married.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, is that Bob Hall?
No, that is. I'm trying to remember his father's name. Just passed away a couple of years ago.
Well, he lived up on the road.
Yeah, on the Tuscarora. Yeah, John Hall is Gloria's husband, and I can't remember his father's name now.
Thompsons. Now, Thompsons, are they related in there somewhere?
No. What happened is years ago, you know what they call the powerhouse down in Tuscarora?
Yeah.
All right. That was where, now I'll probably get the story backward.
Lloyd Thompson.
Right, that's where the Thompsons lived, and then the Morgans, when they first came to Tuscarora, they moved in there.
Oh, yeah.
And then later on, when we owned the house where Grandma Morgan lived, you know,
Yeah.
all right, Thompson's house burned down. Glenn Thompson.
Yeah.
Glenn Thompson and his family, their house burned down. They moved in with my grandmother.
Well, there's a Thompson boy
There's a few Thompsons, and it gets real.
From Batavia.
Not only that, same name. There are two Glenn Thompsons up there in that area at that time.
Yeah. No, he was related to the ones that had the grandson of the one that had the trucks.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, that was Glenn.
Batavia, I met. He was in church there a couple 3 weeks ago down there in church.
Well, you see, it's their daughter, Millie Thompson. I don't know what her married name is, but Millie and I, now she's down in Virginia now, and I'm getting all this stuff for her because we're trying to write a history of Tuscarora.
Oh, yeah.
Get something down. And I just gave her, I have maps and all kinds of stuff. But anyhow, that's more or less, that's what we've got so far on the Morgans. Now let me go over some of these guys here. This was at Sam Douglas that we just, well, we haven't talked about him yet. Samuel Douglas from Canandaigua. Now Grandma Morgan Ernestine was supposedly born in Canandaigua, even though she went to school at Canandaigua because we have a school certificate from there for her. And she was quite a good student.
Your grandmother?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was born in Canandaigua.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, this guy was from Canandaigua. He was born in Pittstown, Rensselaer County in 1825. The grandfather, Samuel, so this goes way back to 1750, if these are in the same family. Now, I really don't know.
It's hard to know unless you... Now, Della had at one time...
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make copies of all these Douglas references here.
Oh, I see. All right.
And then I'll send them to you.
All right.
In fact, I don't have your Florida address, do I?
Okay, no, I don't think you probably do. So, 395 Plantation Road.
395
Plantation Road. That's Venice, Florida.
Venice?
And what's the zip code, Helen?
34293.
And my telephone number.
Yeah.
We got a number, area code.
941.
To change this area.
I get all mixed up now.
That book there.
946.
You ever look at all the pads out there? I keep pads for all.
Well, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, 496. 4635.
It's funny with the two telephone numbers. We can remember why we're there.
Right.
Then we get back up here, we forget.
Yeah.
As you get older, of course.
There's
Of
that.
course, I'm only 39, so.
Yeah, like I said, here's another Frederick Douglass, another guy from Canandaigua. Yeah, I will make...
Well, now, it's possible. See, now, here's what is possible there. Now, Dick lived in Canandaigua.
Mm-hmm.
So he lived in Rochester originally. That would have been Grandpa Douglas' brother.
Mm-hmm.
And they lived in Canandaigua. Now, he had a family, more than one that I knew of. It was the only one I knew was the ones in Tuscarora, or up in East Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been going on to get in touch with him and find out what other part of the family that Uncle Dick had. Because Mother didn't ever, some way or other, there wasn't communications between him and his brother and the rest of the family.
Yeah.
So, but he did come to see us, and he came to see Mother.
It was like my grandfather Morgan's family.
Yeah.
We don't even know what the rift was about. But
well, now Frank married her name was Beth, right? His wife.
Bess.
Yeah, Bess.
Yeah.
And then there was the son was named Frank too, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. Last I knew of him, he worked in Batavia at some machine place in Batavia, if I remember right. but I haven't seen. I went to Frank's funeral.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's not Helen and I did, and but from that time on, we lost track of it completely. See?
Well, that's what I'm going to start doing. As I find more people, more addresses and stuff, I'll send them this stuff along, and they can go over it and jot down whatever they happen to have. Here, I'll leave this with you too. Here. That's just all the local history, all the different towns and stuff, and what books are available. In case you ever get into any research on that. This is just something I put together. These are where some of the people lived, like Mary and Irene.
Oh, yeah.
They all come from South Bristol, Canadice.
Oh, sure.
And then if I know where they're buried, like here, Ernest, he's in Naples, and you said that.
Yeah. That was good. Okay.
Now this Stanford and Spielman, that's my mother's side.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they're the ones. But that's what I want to do. What I was doing too, it was kind of interesting. I was comparing both sides of my family and see where they crossed paths.
Yeah.
And they did. They lived in the same towns, but usually about 20 years apart.
Yeah.
So it's not like they ever really met each other, but they were in because everybody kind of like came up the same way.
You know, it's so funny. When I first moved to Florida, first thing you naturally move to a different area, you look to see if there's anybody's name in the phone book. Like ran across an Alan Dieter. And the phone book. So I called him up, and I asked him if he was in relation, and I knew if it had a connection, so on and so forth. No, he says, I don't know. But he says, I said, well, where are you from? He says, from Iowa. And I said, well, I'd like to talk to you sometime if we could and get together. And he said, well, I'll give you a call. And he says, we'll get together some night. So he called me, and I went to his house, and introduced his wife. But she didn't seem very friendly. She went right into another room and study and sit down. And we sat in the living room, talked and visited. And he said, now who's writing this book? And I told him, Esther Gundry from Flint, Michigan. And he said, well, I don't know any of the real connections. But he says, as I understand it, he says that my father, or my two brothers, one of them ended up in Pennsylvania. And that one moved to New York, and the other one lived in Illinois. So, but nevertheless, I said, well, my grandfather's name, the one that originally came from Germany, was Sherman, Dieter. And so I said, so there's a long list of that. But I said, so we finally put it together, who he was. It was his father. Yeah, his father and my grandfather were brothers. But the three boys came over together, but one of them ended up down in New Jersey, and one ended up in Pennsylvania, moved to New York, and the other one went on out there. So they'd never seen each other.
Wow.
As far as he ever knew, talking to his grandfather. But there's a town in Iowa, it's Iowa, isn't it? Iowa, that was named after his family, because there was only 2 or 3 houses there when they first went there. His father was a contractor, and built houses, built buildings, and so on and so forth. And his grandfather ahead of him. And down the generations, they built practically all of that town up. See? So they named a lot of the streets after him and everything else by middle names and so on and so forth. So, well, we had quite a long visit there. And when he says, well, who's writing this book? I says, a lady named Esther Gundry from Flint, Michigan. She got right up. His wife didn't come right out. And she says, did you say Esther Gundry from Flint, Michigan? I said, yes. And she says, did she teach school? I said, yes, she taught school. She retired. She went into this history. She said, her husband wrote all this stuff on different generations of different people. That was what his business was. And well, she said, I went to school with her. I went to college with her. So then she sat right down, so we got really serious into it. And of course, he told us before she came out that he'd lost 3 wives. The first wife lived 2 months after he died of cancer after married. And how long did he say the second one lived? About 2 years, did he? She died of cancer. And so he married 3 times. They all died of cancer. See? But then he met her later years, so he married her. And she'd been married before, I guess. Her husband died. So she was really a second to it, but she was really interested in it. Now they're both dead now. I don't really. We got word that she died, but we didn't get an eye on him, did we?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, he did too. Yeah, and they had one son. So now what the Moose family wants to do, they want to get a history of all this book thing if they can.
Yeah.
And who written it, and if there was one that they could available, if they could get a total book out. Well, the only way they get it was like taking my book or something that's doing that, or one of the kids' books. It's the only ones they got, because the one in Dansville is not complete. See. And so we were talking about it last night. They was wondering about how we'd be in touch. Well, I got to thinking about it. He had a son, and I think he lives in Flint. So I was going to try and make contact somewhere or other to see if he does still live in Flint. And that way I could find whether there's any books, they had any books left, because they had a lot more printed after we got the balance of those 5. Whether they ever got rid of all of them or not, I don't know. So, but they want the Mooses they want the book of history of the whole thing. See, because all the Mooses are in it, the Schwartzers are in it, the Carnes are in it, the Rouse are in it. There's 7 different families.
Yeah.
And so they're all related. Hugheses, and in fact I run the Les Hughes here about 2 weeks ago up to the hospital and up to see Kate. Him and I went to school together. He lives in Florida, but he's only up here just about a month every year, see. But as I said, there's so many. It's quite interesting. They had down there at the reunion 2 weeks ago. They had representative of 5 families in hell. 5 families of the reunion. See, and of course I heard about the reunion through one of the Moose women that lived in Dansville, Ted Moose's daughter. Talking to her, she said, "Well, they're going to have a Moose reunion down there." Well, my folks always went to it, but since we grew up and got away from it, we didn't go. So she said, "Well, one in charge is from Leicester, and they're going to have it in Leicester." So Helen and I went down to the thing and ahead of time. I talked to him, and he wanted me to come because they were going to want to get the idea of all the different ones that they could connect with, and the leaders don't all see. So I took my book down, and boy, as soon as they found out the size of the book they had and what little information to get Dansville, we got a letter last week from the one, she was secretary of the Moose reunion, and she wants to get together with us to see if they can't get a total history of the Moose family, because they don't have it.
Yeah.
See?
Let me show you a few pictures here.
All right.
This is kind of like a combination, the Morgan, Tuscarora stuff, whatever.
Oh, they done a beautiful job on that church, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
They sure did. You want to see them help, too?
Sure, come on over. I'm just going to breeze through them here.
You want to go see? She hasn't been feeling very good. She's been having an awful time with stone. Kept all this operation. Of course, they cut her open this last time.
It takes quite a while to recover.
Yeah.
These are just some old pictures of Nunday.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So many people are from the area, State Street. But these are...
Now, this is the old, used to be the old hotel on the corner.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I did, these are just regular postcards that I had, and I copied them on a photocopier and blew them up.
Yeah, that
makes it easier to see.
That's a nice
Now, that's the new high school. The high school they have now was built the same place.
Oh, yeah.
And now that should be, I don't know, Mary's not quite certain. I don't think my father and Mary actually went to this school. I think the new, what we call the high school now, was already built around this. This is incorporated into the present structure.
Well, where they graduated from was here.
They graduated from that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's where it was. We were at the graduation.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, great. This is, that's the town hall.
Uh-huh.
Methodist Church.
Oh, yes.
Presbyterian Church. H Street. Oakwood. And these are postcards.
Oh, yeah, top,
okay, right.
top view.
Yeah.
We just got a thing just to be probably going to take a picture of our place here on top.
There's an old picture of Nunday from the air.
Distance away.
Yeah. This is the way it used to look. You know, this is State Street. Look at the horse and buggy. Now, one of the things I use, this is a 10-power scope with a light. And boy, I'll tell you, you can see the detail with these things. I've gotten to where you can read store signs and lay it right down on it. Usually makes it easier.
Oh, yeah.
But You know, the old street light in the middle of the street, it wasn't a stop and go light, it was just a light to light up the intersection.
A little snow too.
Yeah. Same thing. The old foot manufacturing. What I've done this for is because so many people from Tuscarora also used to live in Nunde or Sagne or whatever, so I've incorporated like Sagne, Mount Morris, Nunde, Tuscarora all into one book. Yeah, I mean, we collect, you know, millions of postcards. Now here's a picture of Tuscarora from the air. And see what I did with that? Was I had it blown up. See, there's my grandparents' store. There's the gas pump out front. There's their old house. Remember the barn?
Yeah.
There's the Grange. There's Gertie Lee's.
You want to see those close-up, Bill? I'm ready.
Here, we'll bring it over. Here, this is a picture of Tuscarora. We figure it's probably looking at the hotel. Because it hadn't burned down yet.
Oh yes.
The corner,
the
corner bar.
Yeah, that's where
hadn't burned down yet. So we figure this is prior to 1958.
Where your folks lived was down in here one time. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They lived over here someplace.
Yeah, I'll never forget the time I went there to the reunion. Somebody asked Les to move his car, or somebody's car. I forget who it was. It was always Earl's. But anyway, they run over the stake for the horseshoes and put a hole right through the tire.
Oh, yeah?
Your dad said, "Oh, my God, hell!" You know, you used to laugh. I used to get the biggest kick out of it. I was glad to laugh. So we were there, you know, the night before he passed away, you know. And he wouldn't go to take a sleep. He wanted your mother to get us a lunch, and we'd had her supper. I wanted to have supper with Forrest now. And so he was getting pretty tired, and we left. And we was bound we were going to stay, and I said, "We better. Our kids are at home. We have to go home anyway." So now this is what Kansas? No,
this is still Tuscarora. That's the church.
Yeah.
These are things that postcards addressed to people. Now, I mean, here's from the 60s, 1960, to Marion Lou from Dick. He was at camp. Here's one. Now, here's that other Thompson I told you about.
Oh, yeah.
That we thought was, see, Thompson, Tuscarora, and it says, "Dear Father, received the flowers you sent me, and I appreciate them. Something more than blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
Obviously, this guy was in a hospital.
Oh, yes.
And he was sending a note back to his father. Now, here's a Denison. These are Tuscarora postmarks. See, 1911. Here's somebody. Here's a Denison, Elmer Denison, Tuscarora. Bob Denison used to be the county dog warden for a while. I don't remember if you. I don't know if you remember him.
I know who he was.
Now here's Conklin's.
Yeah.
You know.
See, I worked up to Conklin's. See.
Did you?
Up on the hill. Yeah, Earl was lived up there, you know, one time. Yeah.
Now here it was funny. This was a Miss Morgani.
What a name.
Tuscarora. Yeah.
How long? What years was that?
That was 1929.
Oh yeah.
And these are pictures of Sagne.
I was thinking the other night, went through Sagne.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What a shame, huh?
I did a lot of work over Sagne.
Did you?
Yeah. The plumbing.
Look at the railroad building they used to have.
Yeah.
And see what
that's
I've done?
Still there, isn't it? That old railroad building?
Yeah.
Off the side there.
Yeah, off to the side. Yeah, little cement thing there. This is an article on the Shakers.
Oh, yeah.
This is the rules of conduct.
Oh, yeah.
When it was Craig Colony in 1935. Tells the patients what they can do and what they can't do. Here's some more pictures. That's when they used to call it the White City, when all the buildings were there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's that railroad picture.
How do you become of all these two postcards, Bentley, huh?
We go to antique shows. We go to the postcard conventions. This is just, I probably have, I probably have 2,000 postcards of the Livingston County area.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Well, we call it Genesee Valley. Everything from, say, Batavia over to Canandaigua, everything from Rochester.
Did you hear that, Ellen? Yeah, there were 2,000 cards with Livingston County and everything, so postcards.
You see, because Sandy's from Dansville.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, her family's all German. Their name is Searle. And they've been there.
Oh, Les Searles?
Yeah, well, Les Searle was Grandpa's brother.
Oh, I know Les Searles. So that's one I was just talking about a minute ago.
Oh, yeah?
Les Searle, he'd be about 65 years old there, about.
Now?
Yeah.
Well, that would be Grandpa's nephew then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I knew his father. They lived up on the peak on top of.
Yeah, East Hill.
East Hill, yeah.
East Hill.
Yeah.
That's where her grandfather's farm is.
Well, he and I went to school together. This one.
Oh,
And
okay.
he was older than that because I'm 78. See, and so he was right around.
Well, her grandfather was Ray Searle.
Yeah.
And he just passed away last year. He was 92. His brother was Lester Searle.
Yeah.
He passed away, I think, at 98.
Uh-huh.
I mean, because...
It was Les Searle lived up on the peak.
Right.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Now there's Ronnie Searle, who's about my age. Howard Searle, which is about your age.
Yeah.
No, Howard's older. I think Howard is... what is Howard? He might be 88. But he was a dairy farmer up there, and then he turned the farm over to his son.
Yeah, and then his son moved down to Dansville. He moved from Dansville to Florida. That's what he told me the other day.
Right.
Yeah. I talked to him.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, I talked to him a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, he was just up here. He used to live in Webster, didn't he?
I don't know. He lived in Dansville, right back of the hospital there for long years.
Mm-hmm.
And they said when they went to Florida, that's where he lived when they left for Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I see my license plate, and he wanted to stop me, so, we stopped and talked.
See, Sandy's the president of the Searle side, so we've been doing all that. And this is how we kind of got into it. Both of us were doing research on both of the families. And I've got all the maps. I got maps of Tuscarora, which are in here, from 1873 when the canal was still there. Tuscarora used to be quite a place. It had 3 hotels, 4 doctors. It was a boom town. It was a canal town.
Oh, yeah. The feed mill was there. And
up on Grandma and Grandpa's store, up on the 2nd story, there was a door up there.
Yeah.
That's when the canal was in operation. They used to open that door, lay planks across it right to the canal barges.
Yeah.
And they were big barges. They would average 80 tons.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they were good-sized barges.
Yeah. I've heard my dad talk about going to watch them when they used to haul the mules growing up. Yeah.
And they used mules because a horse would last for 2 hours, take you about 6 miles.
Yeah.
Mules could last for 6 hours.
Of course, that same canal went down through above Nunde there, straight down through Portisville.
This is the trade school, Catholic church. These are the cottages, some nice shots of those. Too bad those are all gone. What a shame, huh?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons we like the postcards is, my God, what we've lost over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Why governments or something can't step in and say, wait a minute, this is a historical
town.
Yeah, we should keep it. It's like the house spa over at Dansville. That was a national, Bernard McFadden.
Oh, yeah.
Physical culture hotel.
Is anything in that at all anymore?
No. See, what happened is it's partially owned by a European health concern.
Yeah.
And they're in court with his heirs over what to do with the thing. And they've been Bernard McFadden. McFadden. And they've been in court for about 14 years.
Oh.
And while they're in court, the thing is in limbo.
Well, they had a restaurant up there not too many years back, did they?
That would have been quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
Now this, I don't know if you've ever saw this. This is out behind Saunier. That would be the train coming.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's where they come around that sharp curve, and they just come right across just ahead of the bridge.
Now this is the tracks that went through Tuscarora, right?
Yeah.
And what we were trying to figure out is what that little house might be there. That little hut.
As I remember, before the railroad closed down, I believe that the little shanty there was more or less a gateway or something.
Oh, okay.
And so I remember right there was a building there. I remember about the building being there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that branch has not been gone. Don't seem that long. Last time I really remember things about it, we were coming around the curve out of Nunde, out of San Diego toward Mount Morris.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're going toward Mount Morris. When the lights come on the train. Scared us. So yeah, we're going toward Dansville way out of Mount Morris, and here comes the dark, and it comes around the lights. He hadn't turned them on. He just turned the light on like that, and man, we just thought there's something big coming right at us. Yeah, yeah. Hell, I've talked about it a number of times.
Yeah.
What a shot.
These are from the old ham radio days. You know, somebody would say, "Hey, I heard this guy must have been there in San Diego, and he heard somebody signal, and he sent him a postcard." These are pictures of the bridge.
Yeah.
Of course, the bridge is still there. I'm not sure if that bridge is there, if they tore it down and put up another one.
There's a bridge. The bridge, the only one.
This is the one out back, isn't it?
It's the one after you go. Where you on the roadway, there's one up above it. That's the railroad bridge. No, that's the regular one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this in here is gone now. Then.
Yeah. Okay.
So just at least the top of it is.
Yeah. Right. I think they replaced it with something.
Because the railroad one was up just about 1,000 feet above that. See?
Now here's I found this in a pile of pictures. This is San Diego in 1899. These are all railroad workers
here.
There.
That's what I was saying. Okay, I see.
The big train out behind them. This is Mount Morris. Remember this, the old Texaco?
Yeah.
Now, do you remember that? The old Eagle emblem? The center pump? That might have been gone by the time you came around.
No, I don't think so.
All the towns used to have these.
This is at Mount Morris?
Right. That was out of the horse and buggy days, more or less, because they needed the fountains for the horses.
Well, I believe there was one there when I was a kid, to be honest with you.
Was there?
That would
we had one in Lima that was there for quite a few years.
I remember that.
Yeah, her name was Rebecca.
Oh, yeah.
And she was famous because she had 3 levels. It was a stature of a woman, but she had 3 levels.
Well,
one was for horses.
It was just as you had
right in front of the Presbyterian Church.
Coming in from Honeoye.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, right there.
Yeah.
That's Rebecca. They were actually going to try and restore it years ago because I guess somebody found out where the thing was made, and they got a hold of that company and found out they still had the molds, and they just thrown the molds out a few years earlier. Otherwise, they still would have had that.
Huh.
This is pictures of the town hall, public library, corner building.